So, our next speaker is the creative director and co founder of Territory Studio in San Francisco. His creativity is heavily influenced by diverse perspectives and disciplines. So he's quite the multimedia artist and motion graphic designer. He enjoys getting experimental and playing with technology to see how he can use it in unusual ways. Ooh. Some of his most notable work includes movies like Zoolander 2, The Martian, Ex Machina, and multiple Marvel Avengers movies. My husband would love that. And of course, he's the creator behind this year's FITC Toronto event creative and opening title sequences. Say hello to Marti Romances, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marti Romances, and I'm the creative director and co-founder at Territory Studio, San Francisco here. I am very happy that we're finally getting back to a little bit of normality, and a good example is having festivals like this. Even if this is happening online this year, we're very happy that FITC invited us to show you some of the stuff that we've been doing, talking a little bit about what we learn and how we are adapting to many different ways of working. Of course, this has been very difficult times for everyone, very difficult couple of years for many. And I'm very glad to say that we're very grateful that we can continue to do, we can continue to do what we love doing, and that we adapted to work remote. Of course, many industries have halted, they stopped, they paused, and lots of bad things happen. But I want to focus on the positive today, and I'm not talk much about that. As for the ones who don't know, Territory Studio started 12 years ago in London. And then we expanded into the Americas 6 years ago. We have been doing lots of different type of work over the last few years, and I want to talk a little bit about that diversity. But what we always say about ourselves is that we stay inside of this triangle, into this trifecta that is made by story, because we are revealing lots of story and narratives through design. We do this through design, and also we use technology, but we also support and invent new ways to interact with technology. Sometimes technology that doesn't even exist just yet. We feel like this is a good definition of where Territory stands for, what Territory stands for, and where Territory is positioned in this market. Talking about markets, we see ourselves also positioned within these two big groups. We are able to imagine fantastical worlds for films and games, and at the same time, we are really close to the real world with digital products that people can use, content for brands. So in a way, we see ourselves bridging Silicon Valley and Hollywood. The balance, to be in the middle, the balance of having both allowed us to diversify and to continue to flex our creative muscle. Like, you can expect how these films will want the next big thing, and they always will need to be showing something new. Same with products, same with brands. It's almost like having four departments within this one company. And this diversification has helped us so much during this pandemic. As you can imagine, the whole Hollywood stopped working. We could not receive any shots from any productions. We could not do work with our departments, be on set with creative directors, with production designers. And this diversification really helped us being able to continue to prevail and create for some of these other verticals, let's say. And I think this is not only just for companies, which we discuss with many other company owners, but also for individuals. I think it's a great thing to apply the same skill sets that you have into other industries to make that skill sets, the skill set group grow a little bit more, and to become just not only a stronger artist or individual, but also a stronger company. Within films, and I want to show you some of these different verticals, we do lots of different styles. Different type of graphics are needed. each director will have an idea, each production designer will have an idea, and we have to really reinvent ourselves and change that the mentality sometimes and the approach for some of these films. And this is very different to long programs like car companies or video games that last for 2 or 3 years in the same project. The films allow us to, again, continuously flex our creative muscle and come up with the next thing. And each one has its own different style. Of course, you're not going to design the same things that you design for a Spider-Man movie that what you will design for Zoolander 2, for example. The games, though, they're a bit different, because what we're creating for games, whatever is the front end design, the heads-up display, these are things that they need to be working not just one time when you see them in the film, but also 100 times after you have just played that game over and over. So you need to be very careful on how you design this graphics with the function in mind. And we not only do this for games, we also do, as you can see, identity work, marketing material for them, cinematics and title sequences. So you're going to be able to see some of that. And the bridge, where we see a bridge between games and films, is thanks to digital products, because they are functional products that they also need to convey different narratives and have different functions. We can see here how this type of work actually helped us a lot during this pandemic, because even now with this, how difficult it is to actually ship physical goods, to be able to actually, for some of our clients, to be selling digital goods and not physical goods, it's a good avenue for them. And we of course have seen an explosion on NFT projects and projects that need a platform and a digital identity, a digital platform for their users to go in and do what they want them to do. We apply this to medical, we apply this to even defense projects and other type of wearables and physical products in a way that need that digital platform as well. Our work is too difficult for me to put everything in one reel, and this is something I never done, but I decided that because we could not choose about what to put in this from this digital reel, or what to put from the film reel or from the brand reel, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to show 4 reels at once. I don't know how this is gonna go, but let's find out.
What do you want, Joe?
I want to ask you some questions.
Target is brand new. Initiating strike.
Initiating what?
Let the hunt for Halliday's Easter egg begin. That went well.
So as you can see, it was difficult to choose one or two, so we decided to show all of them. The variety of projects here, from digital to different films and brands, this is what makes us. And we believe that one influences another. Like what we learn from certain films and certain sort of a futuristic visions, we apply to cars. What we learn from car technology, we could apply to a wearable product. And what we could learn from that, and that gives us so much of a grounded idea on where the real technology is, the latest technology is, so we can circle back to when we have to imagine and speculate what's the technology that's coming up for this next film. We have that point of reference, and we can trace the lines between and find out more or less speculate about where things are going. And this is happening as well with real-time technologies. This is an internal case study that we started, and we wanted to do this because we have been working with graphics for a long time, and we were using as well real-time graphics for other digital platforms. And we've seen what happened with The Mandalorian and all of the stagecraft and all of the use of virtual production. So we wanted to add our utility there, and we wanted to be the first ones to do it because we've been doing this for 12 years. So we will have hated ourselves to not be the first ones to put something like this forward. And it's a technology that is evolving in front of us, and that we should evolve with it. And we should also be the ones, after all these years, to do this, to push the boundaries and to push the lines on offering something new. Let's see what this is about. As you know, we work in all of these graphics. We do all of this UI for films, and most of this is on set and interactive. But what we have achieved now, thanks to Unreal Engine and Unity and these real-time engines, is to have an awareness of where the camera is in that set. And as soon as you have the position of the camera, you can start skewing all of the 3D perspective that you have played in real time, in real life, for any of those screens, whatever you have moving screens or whatever you have static screens. This allows us to, this is all in camera, by the way, there's no visual effects. And this allows us to skip compositing and give us also like this great feel, but still keeping the interactivity with all of those, and being able to scale to up to 200 screens if we want it. The most relevant part here is that it's not just that we can save a lot of compositing, because this doesn't need any tracking or any rotoscoping, because it's all through the lens, but mainly is that we can allow these production designers that they want the next big thing, something that they haven't seen in a film before, applied to their productions. We're pushing that line a little bit, and we feel like responsible for doing it, because after doing this type of work for so many years and having sort of dominated that corner of the market, it's for us to actually push it and offer new things and new solutions to not only our clients, but to the industry in general. We can see here that, again, it's not only about the efficiencies, it's about the fresh look. And the main idea here is that you're not looking at one or two screens. You could have 200 screens, as long as you have them synced with your 3D space that you have inside of that Unreal Engine or inside of that Unity. You could play a lot with different things that can happen. You could be sending things from one screen to another in a 3D space. The opportunities are endless, and we started to apply this not only to films, but also to broadcast, news, and all of these live reactions you get with TV channels, whatever is for an election program or something that needs to show some data. You can have a moving camera, and this presenter could be presenting data in 3D in real life. So we also tried things like this with tests for example, for Bond, No Time to Die. You can see here that is the same idea. You can see here how we can use this no matter what style it is. And this is a great link to something that I want to touch on, because all of this is 3D inside of real life. And we see how these things are starting to go this way, not only for shows like this, Swan Song, but also in real life. We start to see augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality pretty much coming from the big tech industry and companies. It's going to be something that's going to be around us very soon. And it's lovely to have the opportunity to continuously prototype these things with these shows, these TV shows and films, like here, where you can see these interfaces that live in front of you and you can touch and you can interact with. This, we believe that the real-time engines that we're starting to prototype and work with other industries will be pretty much doing the exact same thing. So the vision that some of these shows and directors have is already very relevant for us to connect with some of the digital product offering that Territory does every day. Another one is Ghost in the Shell. Of course, how this 3D, again, implemented into real life could be the future of advertising, outdoor advertising, or even how this could be the future of products. These ideas, and that's why I keep saying that the films allow us to continuously flex our creative muscle, because these ideas, they might not need to be developed completely, but they need to be working as an idea and visually. This is a project that actually helped us a lot when it happened a few years back, to expand our offering not only just to graphics for on-set graphics, but also visual effects. And everything that we could learn from this, again, we're applying it to real products. And all of those also are also an excuse to reinvent and reimagine spatial design, the future of our cities. And we believe this is, again, very relevant to what our cities will be facing very soon. So again, it links us back to real life and real products, even if those are futuristic films. Another one that links us to real products, and in that case is maybe more for games, is Ready Player One. An amazing opportunity to work on this, thanks to working with ILM and Digital Domain. We created these interfaces not only in 3D for when they are inside of this virtual world, but also this 3D representation. It's a representation of what you see in these visors in front of them. And what you can start seeing with this is that every single time that we give character to our interfaces. They are their own character, and they have their own style, they have their own color, they have their own typography and iconography and everything. We keep these differentiators all the time wherever we have to identify a user interface into a character. But the most important part about these projects is that for us, when we're working with ILM and all these other big and massive VFX houses, is that what we do is we have to create something that doesn't exist. The visual effects that Territory does is not something that we already have seen. We're not putting a tree in the middle of the road. We all have seen how a tree in the middle of the road looks like. We could do it very photorealistic and whatnot. But what we have to do is a challenge on how these people are going to interact with those 3D widgets, how they're going to do things with this world, and what is this digital product that they are going to use, and how they're going to use it. I think this, and you can see here lots of pre-visualization on when we were doing this type of work. This allows us to also put our virtual reality mentality set, put ourselves into that player mindset. Most of us are gamers here as well, so this was a great project for us. But it's not only like the prototyping, it's also like the creation. You're creating something that does not exist. We're not recreating anything. We're creating something new that needs to be designed. That's why Territory is such a design-centric studio. The most important part is that we need to continue covering narratives that are easily explained through these graphics, as you can see. So the story points are reinforced with our graphics at the same time that we are inventing this technology that might exist within these worlds. Another world and another project that also we work with ILM was a Space Jam, and this is the same again, and very connected to games. How in cases like this we had to design a system, a holographic system, to upgrade the stats on your player, or power-ups to make LeBron James jump higher. Someone needs to think about these things and these elements. Someone needs to design them. Someone needs to think how they're gonna animate whenever they are activated. Speed boosters. Again, it's like a game because it's based in that game, right? And I don't know if you've seen the film, but it's working with games and films at the same time, and applying everything that we learn from also working from games. And some of us, as I was saying, we come from games, and that's where I spend a lot of time with visual effects and composition and whatnot. But then I jumped into working with Activision and Nintendo, and then Territory. What I was saying about mixing industries and verticals will allow you to grow your offering. You can see here the holographic hoops. Why not? And Pacific Rim is another one, right? We think about all details when we look at these interfaces. We're not just like making them look good. We actually thing where the warning lights are going to be, where the status of the power of the weapons. And it all starts like in a visual sketch. It all starts there, and then it develops into the full idea. You can see here how we build many assets in many layers that the compositors need to put together. So props to our compositing team, and the whole VFX pipeline has been very much maturing over the last years. And the good thing is that as motion graphic artists that we started at the beginning of Territory, we adapted also all of this knowledge around motion graphics and 3D into these visual effects deliveries. So you can see a lot of like, again, those are moving graphics, right? But it's important to find your expertise sometimes. It's important to leverage what you're good at. And this is exactly what we're doing with these films. We're leveraging what we're good at. We're leveraging our motion graphics experience and games. Talking about games, and this connects us to some of these holograms. We applied this to real games. This was a real ride from Universal theme parks for Jurassic World. And the good thing is that people will have to play this one, and they will have to interact with something. They have a controller. They have to start thinking about everything. So we had to create lots of things, but one of the ones that we could show that's relevant to these widgets and 3D controls is this tagger where we had to be tagging dinosaurs with. Of course, our mouse, keyboard, phones, things that we interacting within our life are becoming now 3D, elements around us. And this is a good example. And as I was saying, we start with the sketch. We need to make sure that within that small real estate, for example, we have to cover lots of different functions and how it's going to work. We pass it into 3D because we know that this is going to have to be and have a 3D presence. And we make sure the color helps on the experience as well, and everything is very sought after. And this is this is how some of these things, the little animations work, where you detect an asset, where you have to give directions for location or other types of actions. These are things that people are going to be interacting constantly with, so everything needs to be clear and everything needs to be part of that ball. So very similar to, again, the Ready Player One visors that we were looking at. Another game, and this is going to be the one that links us with the automotive industry. For Forza, we've been creating for them menus and heads-up displays and all of these graphics. And this is great. We're the front-end developers, right? We develop the menus and everything that the user needs to interact with. But the most important part here was where we started looking at how we can show information around a car with these concepts for the Forza Vista graphics. And this was such an important part of the game as well. But this links with that idea of the augmented reality. All of these graphics are augmented on top of these cars, augmented on top of this reality, and it's giving us certain information. This is how this was done, by the way, way before AR and VR was here to stay, right? This is how you can sometimes like influence things that do not exist yet, and just show how showing data could be done slightly different. And we do this with cars as well. We now have the opportunity with real-time engines to show exactly what's happening inside of your car. What's that brake that is malfunctioning? What's happening inside of your dampers or your different wheels, suspensions. You can actually go and see it. You can visualize it for a broader audience. We do the same with the films, right? We tell complex stories for a broader audience because whoever wants to go to the cinema needs to understand that narrative. So we do the same. And with one of the projects that we finished and that is out now and we can talk about is our work for Cadillac. We've been working with General Motors and many of their brands, helping them not only with concepts but also production-ready assets. And you can see here the span on how the company has been expanding. We've been working with the Lyric, which is this SUV that's coming up, and we've been working in all of these interfaces that also show lots of real time happening. Not only how the car moves during this autonomous journey, but also showing where the car is parking, or you can show like the seats in 3D, and you have to operate the seats, even the air vents. The thing is that this real estate on those screens is getting larger and larger, so we're getting rid of some of the hardware components that we are used to use for, again, projecting the certain things like the air towards us or towards the back. Certain things that were physical operations now become digital operations that need to happen with the screen. And of course, like I'm going to repeat that the real-time engines and technologies are allowing us to add all of these 3D layers across these interfaces, and we have to do it in a way that everyone who sits in that car can operate it. So this is the challenge. But again, we do welcome animations for when you enter the car. We even like synchronize this with the light choreography that happens inside of these cars. It's all real, it's all needs to function, and even operating your seat is an experience. But you know, better than me keep talking about it, let's have a look at some of the work that we did for this car. Thank you. So I think like with everything that we've done through the years, I think to start gaining the trust of very important digital platforms like what's happening inside of a car, it's I guess it's representative to how companies are interested on people that also come from other industries that have experience with digital, but also with films, with games, and we can, all of the findings we can bring them to their products. And I think there's a connection here with these on-set graphics, and I want to show you this because some people sometimes they don't know how we do some of these things. All of these graphics are on set, they are live, and some of them are interactive, so are very, very relevant to actual games or digital platforms you have to interact with, and they are very complex as well, and again, as complex as some of those car interfaces. But I want to show you a little bit of the process because some people might not know that, well, these are a few iPads positioned behind the Quinjet that we had to create for Marvel. And it all starts, again, similar to some of the cars and other products, it all starts with that sketch, which, working with the art department, they show us what they have in mind, what they're gonna be designing with these models and drawings. And we start thinking what can go where, but also we need to understand how we can disguise some of these screens and cut them in a way with these frames and bezels in order for them to look like there's more than just 3 screens. We think about everything. We think about where the gauges are going to be, what the type of readouts make sense here, makes sense there. At that point, we can already start seeing where their models are in the art department and some of these productions. And then finally, we can ever get to see the final aspect, the final physical aspect of this cockpit in this case. We of course will design and animate all of these graphics, and we will add them to those screens. And those screens, I'm going to show you another example. The good thing is that those screens are lighting the faces of some of those characters, but those screens that you see, even those small things here, those are actually phones, right? Like those, right? But you will never see what kind of a device it is, because what we do is we add them into these cases or these frames, as you will see here, these 3D printed cases for the Guardians of the Galaxy spaceship that was shown in Infinity War and Endgame, or even like little details that went into all of, next to each door. You can actually see that there's the iPhone button there, and those are there everywhere on set. So sometimes you cannot see our work, but we believe that this is a good thing because it's well integrated into the story and every single detail counts. I hope that after seeing all of these projects, you can see the common denominator is design. The common denominator is the story and the technology. With design, we're helping invent technologies. And those are always influenced by a story, no matter if the story is coming from a film script or from a car that needs to do certain things or from a game cinematic or games heads-up display. But one very special project that we've done this year is for FITC. And on top of that, on top of all of the work, we created the title sequences that you've seen and the graphics for the website and all of these lower thirds and all of the graphical package. And we're very, very, very happy because I remember my first FITC was in Toronto and I met so many good friends that I stayed friends with. We're very, very glad that we got invited this year. I'm very glad and I'm hoping that soon I get to see everyone's faces, but I want to celebrate some of these because for us, this was not going to be the dark UI. No, this needed to be something colorful. Like we witnessed the transformation of a dark and unforgiving landscape into a vibrant, abstract city of the future in a way. It is in that liminal space after a catastrophe like the pandemic that the future might not look bright, but the hope always remains. And we wanted to represent this with these colorful elements. The creativity and innovation represented with all these vibrant colors. It's a new perspective that grows beyond the grim reality and presents us with a new outlook and possibilities for the future. So we wanted to bring all of these narratives together and show creativity of different colors coming together of different types of creativity. And the team here has put an immense amount of love into not only creating all of these abstract pieces, but getting them into produce the title sequence. That I wanted to give a shout out to some of them: Zach, Brandon, Jake, Brendan, and Eric, and of course the fantastic, amazing audio from Ben Thames. Thanks, Ben, that you probably have heard in that title sequence. We had lots of fun working on this, and this is, even if I'm here talking to you all today, and I want to make sure that this goes to everyone that makes territory. We're over 120 people across the globe, and without them, this won't be possible. They are actually the ones that they make this possible. So this goes to everyone at Territory as a massive thank you for these amazing 12 years, for the amount of work that we put together. And I also want to thank you because I'm glad that you could be here and have the time to watch this presentation. And I will always like to follow up with questions. I would like to hear from you. I would like you to send your portfolios. Ask me or through the Territory Studio Twitter or Facebook or Instagram any questions you might have. And definitely go and have a look at some of the variety work that we have in our website, because there's quite a lot of stuff in there. Now, just to end the show, I would like to play the title sequence that we did for FITC this year before we jump into Q&A. Thanks a lot, Sean, and the whole FITC family for having me one more year, and I hope that you enjoyed the talk. Peace.
Mind blown. That's all I have to say about that. That was so amazing. What a great presentation, Marty. And I had a lot of questions for him backstage. I can't wait. So you guys also have tons of questions. Let's get to them because there's a lot here. So one of the first questions here is from Chris. With these designs, there are billions of element details for interfaces and motion graphic sequences. It's a lot. How do you balance the flashy video game overkill with what is relevant and contributes to the storytelling? Good question, Chris.
Well, I think that's the main point on what I believe we add value on what we do is we have to create something that sometimes need to look very, very complex, but still, if my mom goes to the cinema, she needs to understand what's happening, right? And I think that speaks to like the experience we have with video games, where we really have to be doing even eye testing on seeing where, or with the cars, like see where people look at, are they finding that like half a second late? And how you balance this by just iterating and testing. We really believe in rapid prototyping. We learn a lot of rapid prototyping on thanks to digital product and games. And I believe the way that you manage it is you start shooting for something that even if you know that it might not work, you get some findings. So you start shooting, it's like that moonshot. You start with that, and then you start paring it down depending on where you actually have to pare it down. I think it's detrimental to start paring it down and try to do more, because you won't have the same energy when you've looked at this again and again. And that's when we do rapid prototyping. We just really believe in that gut feel, what that feeling that you get to the very first time you've seen that, and after seeing this again 1,000 times, is it still operating in the way that you want it? So I think rapid prototyping and just that moonshot mentality is the right answer here.
Yeah, there's another question from Laura that's kind of in a similar vein, but she wants to know, is there any usability principles that you pull on, or what are you using to kind of understand how to iterate to that final solution?
We do have UX designers, and our design manager is a UX expert as well. For digital products and real products, we UX and the experience is paramount of all of the design that happens later. For films, though, sometimes you don't actually need that. You will approach it with trying to understand how this new experience could be an experience that someone maybe from another galaxy could have, but you don't want to be limited by what we learn as humans and what our input could be, because maybe in another galaxy they work in a very, very different way. Maybe they already interlinked with the system and they don't need fingers or any user input. So for films, we can go a little bit crazier on the user experience design. For product, this is still one of our most important parts of the process.
Yeah, that's probably fun to be able to do a little bit of both, right? To be ultimately creative and imaginative on who that audience could be or who the users are. So that's really cool. We have a question from Sam. Says, it's so interesting that you work on both practical and speculative interfaces. Have you ever created any practical projects that were based on some of your speculative work? We kind of talked a little bit about this.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, we sometimes don't really or cannot know how much one of our designs influence product. It's not that the product owners or the brand will come to us and tell us, oh, what you've done in that film. But there has been certain elements that we've seen people like some of our car clients, that they point at certain thing that they've seen in one of our designs in a film, and they see that as a great opportunity to tell a story or to show some data. We were working with ServiceNow on a digital product for them to actually visualize data of all of their companies and data data sets that are very rich. And they actually pointed at something that we've done for Guardians of the Galaxy, and we actually drive them towards that decision, because we did see an opportunity to use that type of 3D visualization that is not just two-dimensional, but you can see a third dimension in order just to add to that to that function. You could see a company's numbers on a spherical dial, but if you just move it to a third dimension, you rotate it, then you can compare them with other companies that have this also spherical dial. So we've seen how a direct use case for how a reference used in one of our films end up being a real product. And we've seen this also with lots of props that end up happening in movies, like what we did for Captain America, where we started designing these two rings that were scanning the Loki scepter that Stick is holding that Infinity Stone. And they ended up creating that. But not only that, this is like a couple of years after, we saw a very, very similar real product prop that was 3D scanning elements, real life elements. And that was looking very, very similar to what we've done for that film. So sometimes you never know. I guess like what we always say is Minority Report maybe inspired the multi-gesture on our iPads and Apple products. But I don't really know if we will end up knowing one day that that product designer was influenced directly by that.
Yeah. It's so cool. So cool. We have a question that's like really practical here from Shayna. Like, how many product designers work together on a project?
We usually work with one, which is the product designer that will be the person to sign off on set design, costume, like all of the stuff that the art department are creating, and the different departments on these art departments. We are one of those departments, which is the interfaces and screen graphics, and we are going to be presenting to that one production designer for her or him to sign off.
Okay, cool. Great. Patrick says, congratulations on winning an epic mega grant as well. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on any other Unreal Engine projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, I do believe we could openly say that we are actively working on Unreal Engine projects that allow us to visualize sensor data for cars, both for auto parking and autonomous driving solutions. I think this is an increasing demand for a company like ours. We can also say that we continue with the virtual production techniques that allow us to bring these real-time graphic engines into the set designs, and I believe that each one is going to be different, right? So we're now actively working with two films that are using that technology, and they're using it in a different way. Still very focused to that design-centric graphical elements that will be moving in real time and be reacting to the actor or actress performance. So I think these are some of them. We've done things with medical as well, visualizing 3D scans for products using Unreal Engine, and of course, like set extension, which we've seen many times with the LED set extension in 3D. We're doing at the moment one of the projects with using that approach, thanks to Unreal Engine as well.
Awesome. Amazing. Thanks for answering all of these questions. That's all the time we have for questions today. There are still more questions out there. People were super excited and really loved your talk. Monica says, thank you for the stellar talk. Jamie says, this was great. Smashed it out of the park. So lots of love for you, Marty. We're also really grateful for you for inspiring us. And thank you everyone for putting questions into the Q&A.